Well, the severe weather threat is ramping up again today, hitting some of the same areas that were hit yesterday and are going on right now. We have a slight risk of severe weather across of Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska, and southwest Wyoming, southeast Wyoming, with another slight risk down here in parts of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, and a small part of Kentucky here, with a larger slight risk, marginal risk surrounding it, and general thunderstorms otherwise. So the tornado threat is farther to the west here. 2% chance of likely less than EF2 tornado, generally from Garden City to Colorado Springs to just to the east of Denver. My oldest daughter lives out here. I hope they don't get any tornadoes up to Nebraska, parts of Wyoming here. Hail risk today. Here's our hail risk, right? It's the biggest risk here is out west in the 15% area. 15% risk, okay? A little explanation, 15% risk means chance of 2-inch hail in the hatched area, 2-inch or greater size hail in the hatched area within 25 miles of a given location. Otherwise, a 15% chance of 1-inch hail. Now, the broader 5% risk, we got the chance for 1-inch hail, 5% chance anywhere from roughly Montana down to Atlanta, through parts of all the way to Columbia, South Carolina, along the line all the way up to St. Louis, Columbia, Missouri, all the way up to past Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux City, Marshall, Huron, and up to parts of South Dakota and Montana. The wind risk encompasses a whole area with two distinct 15% areas here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an upgrade somewhere in these areas today. This is a distinct upgrade again from yesterday also. So let's be mindful of this as we go throughout our day today. So good morning, folks, and we got severe weather that's on the books today, and how will it impact the southeast? I think we're going to have an MCS type feature move through the flow and potentially make it into Georgia, especially northwest Georgia here. Now look at the member viewer for this. Bring this up, run this through. All right. Slow this down a little bit. See this MCS type feature moving through the flow here that is pushing through Tennessee and Alabama, Mississippi in the afternoon hours with another distinct threat here in the slight risk area, right? If we move this back a little bit, see initially showers and storms have already moved offshore this morning, right, along the southeast coast. And then, like I said, we got this MCS type feature moving through the flow here, and more severe weather in the slight risk area as well, and some heavy rainfall up here into Montana, right? And some convection far along the coast here, and some showers and storms along this boundary as well. Now, this is the different models associated with this. Pretty much all in agreement of this MCS type feature moving through the flow, okay? So, and also convection firing out west here. So the first area of interest I'm going to look at is the southeast here. Now, this is the beginning of the run. So, and this is a HREF. This is a product that's going to be discontinued. It just shows all the convective available models in one area here. And if you look at the synoptic flow, which is overall flow in the atmosphere, it just gives you a convective available model average here. So when we look at the southeast, you see this little short wave moving through the flow that will likely bring the severe weather in MCS. But you see it kind of lifts out to the north here as we go through time. So the chances of it making it to central Georgia in any meaningful way doesn't look very likely at this point, okay? Let's back up a little bit. See if I can get a better view of this from the Midwest. All right, so this is the HRRR. See the convective line, pretty strong with some rotating storms moving through the flow here, okay? Likely gusty winds associated with it. 1900 UTC, which is roughly 5 p.m., 6, 7, 8, 5 p.m. Eastern, okay? And down in the southeast, we have storms in Alabama, Mississippi firing up, and points to the west here as well, north and west. And this line, you see how it's filling in to the northern part of this area. So definitely North Georgia got the potential for severe weather tonight. And you see why we got this marginal risk here. I can't help but think they might extend the severe weather down, severe area down here along the Gulf Coast. All right, so let's look at the other models, see what they show. A little bit different from the HRW and SSL. The FE3 is crazy along the Gulf Coast and out to the west here. You can look at this out here, not showing much in here. And the thing is, like with features like a mesoscale convective system, when I'm talking about the system pushed within northerly flow, models tend to have a lot of problems handling these. So we'll have to see how that evolves, okay? Now, as we go through time into Tuesday, let's put it back on the HRRR. This is in the overnight hours. We have another cluster and storms moving through that. Remember I showed you to the south and east, and maybe some storms in the southern area of this flow moving through. And then we clear out in the southeast. And then into Wednesday, Tuesday night into Wednesday, we have this risk for heavy rainfall along the Gulf Coast here. Now, when it comes to that, let's look at that real quick. 24-hour QPF, which means amount of precip, right? So you see what the highest precips are in the blue here, maybe an inch or two. Hence, it's not going to be that heavy of a rainfall event, at least in the short term, although potential for flooding is there because we've had a lot of rain recently. So we go into Wednesday. This is 24 hours. So let's move this up to 6 hours. And this is the mean, okay? So average. All right, so you see where the heaviest rainfall is projected to be. And then you get along the Gulf Coast here, where we could have a real serious flooding problem in the coming days. All right, so now let's go to the central part of the U.S. and look at what it's looking like. We'll look at the Synopsis situation here as well, overlay with the severe outlook. You see maybe a short wave move through the flow as we go through the afternoon, mid-morning hours here, okay, which will lead to convection, right, probably. So about this time, you see convection firing already here in this thread area, okay? Move back to 500 millibars, which is mid-levels. You see that's enhanced here, moving to the north and east, okay? Maybe another short wave coming behind it. You see how it lifts out to the north here. Maybe some height falls down here into the southern part of this, but not looking at an enhanced flow here. Now let's look at 850 millibars, which is closer to the surface. You have some enhancement at the low levels, some backing here, maybe a surface flow getting going. So let's look at the temperature and wind here. About 2 point. All right, so we go through time with this. Looks like maybe a dry line type feature with multiple areas of circulation here move through the flow. See how the 2 points from the 50s and 60s here, with the 70s further to the east as we go through time with this, and see how it pushes back to the west some. So your dry line, you have two distinct areas of moisture here. Your distinct dry line is back here, although it's kind of nebulous. Then you have your higher moisture to the east here. So within that area, like right along here, is probably the best chance for convection, right? So let's look at the member viewer here. See that lifts up to the north. Then we have more convection firing, likely elevated convection back to the west here, okay? This convection may end up being more surface-based, but remember where the tornado threat is here, and you can see the possibility of tornadoes anywhere in this area, right? You have your 15% risk for winds and things like that. So 2-inch hail, and you see the potential for rotating updrafts with the black areas here, and the different models showing different parameters here. And so quite could be a very impactful event today, right? And then not just a tornado risk. Let's look at the probabilities from the Storm Prediction Center here. 4-hour neighborhood probabilities of hail, and this is Monday evening, right? So 1800, 2000 UTC, roughly you're in Central Mountain Time, so 2 hours, which is, I hate converting this. Wish it would show local time, but sorry about that. So 5, 6 hours. So 9, about 3, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. or so. The highest probabilities here in eastern Colorado, okay, for hail. This is within a 4-hour period, right? And then it moves to the south and east. All right. Now we go to tornado. See where the highest probabilities for tornado are. Pretty much eastern Colorado, point into Kansas here, and down into the southern mode of this as well, although marginal risk, right? Wind, see back to the south and east here, the highest probabilities early on. Then the wind threat ramps up here, just to the north into Wyoming here, Nebraska, parts of Colorado, just to the east of Denver, and down into Kansas, and a larger marginal risk into Nebraska as well, and these marginal risks down here also. Expansion of the winds here as we get in the overnight hours, so this will be a really impactful overnight event. So the highest probability seem to be winds at this point, although we got the 2-inch hail could be the most impactful if it hits your car. And here's your updraft velocities associated with this, 24-hour max. You see where all the updraft helicity swaths are all over the place with these storms. That's just a 24-hour helicity swath. So this just gives an indication of all the different rotating greater than 75 meters squared per second squared here, which indicates stronger updrafts. As far as storm net probabilities for the southeast, we're starting off today with these storms moving through the St. Louis area in Kansas this morning, right? And we know those storms are moving through there, right? And that MCS moving to the south and east, Mesoscale Convective System, there's where I am. You see the probability is still relatively high, 20-30% moving through Tennessee. And then we have it really backbuilt here into parts of Mississippi and Alabama in the overnight hours, 7 to 8 p.m. into Arkansas. Another maybe bullseye moving to South Carolina, but you see how it kind of dissipates here. And then this line moves down through Mississippi, Alabama, settles to the south. And I kind of alluded to that in my model analysis. Also, we have a little small chance of this rain, this heavy winds moving through the thunder boomers, moving through Georgia and Alabama in overnight hours, 3 a.m., 4 p.m. This is eastern, okay? And then it settles to the south here. Now, tornado risk, let's go back. Tornado risk, we still have one as we go through the morning hours, parts of Missouri here. It was in the blue, maybe 10, 20%. It's not zero here in the Tennessee during the afternoon hours, although very small, okay? Maybe some weak rotation. And then you have another small, maybe 10% chance of tornadoes in the Memphis area, Tupelo, Mississippi, moving towards Arkansas as that line pushes to the south. And maybe a small risk here in the parts of Louisiana as we get into overnight hours. Probability is very low here. Hail, all right, moving back with this. Same kind of thing here. We have that MCS moving through. It's convection associated with it, moving through Tennessee in the overnight hours, afternoon hours, excuse me, moving to the south and east. Maybe a hail threat in South Carolina, North Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas. That threat is not zero as it settles to the south. The highest probability is out here into Louisiana and Arkansas and Mississippi, although 10-20% here in western Georgia for 1-inch hail or greater in diameter. You see to the west here, we'll go over that next. As far as the central US, we know what we got going on right now. We got the winds, right? That'll push to the south and east. We already looked at that. Remember the probabilities of winds and where I showed you they were for the severe threat. This is ramping up between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern, so roughly 5, 6 p.m. Central, okay? Mountain time, excuse me. So mountain time is 2 hours, central time is 1, right? So 5, 6 p.m., depending where you're at. Pretty high probabilities, 25 to 50% here. Moving through Kansas, once again, headed towards Kansas City. that line kind of splits here, and you have a higher probabilities going through Wichita, Kansas, towards Emporia, and moves to the south through Wichita and Fort Smith, Arkansas, just to the east of Oklahoma City. This is into Tuesday, so that's enough for that. Moving back to the hail risk. Hail risk looks to be the greatest here, starting around 11, 12 p.m. up towards Sydney, Nebraska, and North Platte. Rains with time here, but then we really get the main show here. Same kind of thing between 5, 6 p.m. We have distinct area up here into Montana and Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, with the green meaning 25 to 50% chance of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter. A hail threat moves to the south and east through southern Kansas towards Oklahoma City, and then kind of splits off. And we get into Tuesday with a hail threat down here in the Dallas, Fort Worth area, down in southern Colorado, up to Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota as well. Now, tornado risk, let's look at it. Remember, the tornado risk was quite low for this event today. So, going to the morning hours, afternoon, 5, 6 p.m. Pretty low probabilities here, although not zero, like we talked about, 5%, 2% probabilities in this area. And remember, this is EF1 or higher. It's not differentiating between strength here. So it's not zero in the overnight hours, although quite low as it moves through Kansas. And then we get into the morning hours and the tornado threat dissipates. So that's it for the severe threat for the southeast and the central part of the country. I appreciate y'all watching. Be safe out there. Always have an action plan in place. Be prepared for severe weather. You should be anyway out here in the central U.S. Stay safe. God bless. Have a great day.